Of course, there's a length of relationship that's built over time, and you get to know more and more people's stories when you see them beyond a one-time encounter. It's a great to meet people in a chaplaincy setting, hear their story, but you're only getting a glimpse of their life. And the beauty of the life of the congregation is we experience people through many seasons of life, of both joy and sorrow, through spring and summer, and various life stages, and understanding a larger history of one's life story as well.
Do you plan on or anticipate being in Sacramento for a while?
I'm here as long as I'm called here, and Sacramento's growing on me, and I'm seeing many ministry opportunities here in Sacramento. I am always open to wherever God would lead me to be, but I could definitely see a full, lengthy career of ministry here in Sacramento and the opportunities for ministry for the long haul.
Do you see a need in Sacramento that just jumps out at you? Let's say as opposed to the town you grew up in or the county or area you grew up in.
The major cultural piece that I've noticed in Sacramento, as opposed to the Midwest where I'm from, is a variety of desperate groups that don't know one another or relate as well. It's what I value about the Interfaith Council of Greater Sacramento, is an opportunity to bring together people that wouldn't interact otherwise. I find these various minority communities, due to geographic settings or whatever the social pressure, not connecting with one another, or knowing one another's stories, or finding ways to engage in mission together. So a real ministry need that I see and try to work together is to reach out to other faiths, other religious communities, social groups, and social movements, so we begin to know one another and understand where we're each called to serve in Sacramento.
Now, there are other Lutheran congregations in Greater Sacramento
Absolutely.
than yours. What's the connection there, and do you know one another fairly well, work and serve together, and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. We're in shared ministry together. We meet monthly as the ministerium. I'm part of the Sierra Pacific Synod and the Sacramento Conference of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and we share many joint mission opportunities and missional envisioning through our conference. And also finding some joint opportunities to share with the larger Lutheran community, even outside of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Some other Lutheran churches as well I share in fellowship with. We're looking to brainstorm right now a joint Lutheran radio ministry beginning in June, of a opportunity to share the Lutheran faith and teachings with the Sacramento community in that capacity, and a joint shared endeavor with multiple Lutheran congregations.
Many faiths are doing that. That radio is good contact, particularly for people in town. Now, sometime here in the next couple of years, we mark the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. And that would be a big deal, I presume, with the Lutherans. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and will there be a celebration and that sort of thing?
Half a millennium is a long time to live apart from the Roman Church, and we share many dialogues with the Roman Church. I would like to consider myself part of a reforming movement of the Evangelical Catholic Church, and feel that many reforms of the Reformation have been understood, and we are making great steps in that. You know, we've been come to a common agreement and through the joint document on the Declaration of Justification that we share as common agreements in the Roman Catholic Church, that our justification is in Jesus Christ. And the beautiful aspect we all long for is a shared Eucharistic sacrament together, where we could show physical testament to this one Jesus that we share. And there's dialogues that happen, but those have to happen on many levels, both at the Vatican but also on the local level. And both are important. I'm sure we will commemorate the Reformation, as it occurs, I think roughly in 7 years here or so at the 500th anniversary. I would hope it's a big celebration, so celebratory as the Eucharist of communion. There's some red flags that suggest that change in the church is slow, and sometimes a millennium is just a blink in the church's eye. But yet we make strides where we can, and we pray like Jesus prayed for the unity of the church.
Is there a central headquarters for the Lutheran Church, both internationally and in America?
The church-wide office of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America is located in Chicago, next to on Higgins Road, next to the O'Hare Airport. So it's a good central location for the country, and our presiding bishop has his office there. The international fellowship that we're a part of is called the Lutheran World Federation, and that's located with offices in Geneva, Switzerland. We have more of a decentralized church body per se than the Roman Catholic Church, you might suggest. Of course, believing strongly in the priesthood of all believers and placing much more authority and autonomy in individual parishes for decision making. So that trade-off of presidency and presiding bishop nature changes more frequently. But essentially, for the United States, we are centered in Chicago in many ways and internationally in Geneva.
Does the presiding bishop serve out his life, or he's elected to a term?
Elected for a term, yeah.
Do you see a difference in your congregation and in the Lutheran Church? Is there a distinct difference between being religious and being spiritual?
I appreciate the question. I noticed on my bishop's old computer monitor sitting in his office, he had above the monitor handwritten a little note that said, religion is for those who believe in hell. Spirituality is for those who have been through hell. And we have many ways that we talk about religion versus spirituality in our culture and in our country. Largely, from the Latin religio, religion is a notion of bringing the ligaments together in a body. Spirituality is the ruach, or the spirit, meaning breath coming through. And really, if you have a physical flesh that's devoid of any breath or spirit, it's pretty useless for work to be done. But also, I would contend, even though the spirit may be moving with a full breath, if you don't have a little bit of body and flesh to put onto that spirit's work, it's hard to love your enemy and to serve the poor, to be able to visit the sick and ill, just with breath alone. But we need both breath and body. So I really value those who have a deep spirituality, who have a lot of breath to give to our body. But we also sometimes need to put flesh and bone on our body and put that to work in an ordered fashion for our faith, for the life of the world.
Can we sort of safely say that spirituality might come easier if you are involved with religion?
Perhaps, but also religion and the institution, as we all know, once you get involved in an institution, can bog you down, take you down. And that's why we, as Lutherans, feel part of the Reforming Church, to be a part of a reforming movement, semper reforma, always reforming, always trusting the Spirit to come anew to us, like at Pentecost. And hoping that we don't get overcome by the institution.
How do you pick the topics that you're going to teach and preach about on any given Sunday?
Our teaching is somewhat largely set by the traditions of the church. We do use the liturgical calendar of the seasons of the church, from Advent, beginning a new year, into Christmas, eventually, as we just have gone through Lent and leading us to Easter, and soon now into the Pentecost season, and large batches of ordinary time, as we call it, as well. But the texts are pre-assigned each week for our church based on those seasons, and I do feel a sense of order to follow from those texts, but also reading the text of the Sacramento Bee, reading the text of our neighborhood, reading the text of the stories of the people's lives that I meet at the hospital or on the street, on the light rail station, and being able to read those texts of our lives into God's story, the story of creation, the story of the valley of dry bones, the story of Jesus' death and resurrection.
Easter just having passed, we were at North C Street where there's a lot going on with the homeless, and they were passed out a nice little pocket-sized booklet that focused on the Gospel of John. And one of the ministers taught a nice group there assembled. Is there a part of the gospel that just rings your bell and that you just love to dwell on, or is it all one big umbrella?
The whole notion of the gospel being sheer gift, that it's nothing that we do to obtain, that is a primary doctrine of mine and the Lutheran Church, this notion that God's grace comes to us as free gift, of Jesus coming for the life of the world, despite us asking for that gift, and despite any of our works alone, that none of our activities or actions merit salvation, but it's purely Jesus' work. By grace alone, through faith, apart from works of the law, is this incredible aspect of the gospel that I find so encouraging.
Now, how did you come to the Interfaith Council? How did you find your way here into the same group that we serve together in?
As with many aspects of my life, I value the mentors and teachers through the church who have been here. A longtime predecessor of mine and who has served Sacramento so faithfully for decades is the Reverend Lloyd Hansen. Lloyd served multiple parishes here in Sacramento, is very dedicated to the Lutheran Church and to the interfaith community of Sacramento. Longtime board mentor of the Interfaith Service Bureau, now the Interfaith Council of Greater Sacramento. Lloyd tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Jason, you're new to Sacramento, and you're called to this." And I said, "Okay. Thank you."
Now, speaking of Lloyd, they're getting ready to try to sell their meeting house in Oak Park because of a dwindling membership and other sorts of things. Will we come to that in our religions, or will we build and strengthen and grow?
I'll be honest, a lot of times I hope, as was preached in my ordination, somewhat for the death of the church, in that, as on that article you reference of First English, on Holy Saturday, the day that Jesus is in the tomb, that article appeared in the Sacramento Bee.
Very ironic.
That when we can start to die, maybe Jesus starts to come alive. And we get a lot hung up on ourselves and our human nature and our human institutions. And when we can ultimately come to a point of trust of turning that over to God, then God can come alive with resurrected life. And so I am very hopeful for the resurrected life of Jesus to come, and even when we're dead in sin, make us alive.
Are you happy in your work?
I honestly don't know how to explain my calling, other than it's incredible. I never know where life's going to lead me next, and it's a gift. I love it.
Well, we've been talking with Reverend Jason Bense of the Lutheran Church. We appreciate you being with us. Very insightful, and it's nice to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks for the questions, John.